Welcome back, my wonderful people. It's SJB here, and today we're going to be going over the 4 types of archer-type towers, or regular attack damage towers, in the game today. We're going to be comparing them against each other. We're going to be doing our best to use some calculations and efficiency ratings to show off which one is the best, and we're going to discuss them quite a bit. Now, I should mention really quickly that I believe that almost every single tower in this game is very fair and well-balanced overall, and there's no one tower that is significantly worse than the other ones, as far as I'm concerned. But I definitely do have favorites, based on exciting level, how I would actually like to use them in a real game, and based on their abilities, which definitely can lead me to having a tower favorite here. So, that being said, everything is my opinion here, but we'll be using some numbers to try to prove our point today. Try to show this all off. And of course, you guys can come with your own conclusion by the end of this video as well, and just kind of maybe understand the tower just a little bit better. So, that being said, there are 3 real, regular attack damage towers in the game. There's the Ballista Outpost, there's the Royal Archer, and there's the Dune Sentinel. In addition, there is going to be a Rocket Gunner, which I included in this one, even though a lot of people would say that he's a barracks tower, because he is a unit tower, just because it is going to attack very similar to these towers, and oftentimes you just kind of leave them up floating in the sky. You're never going to drop them out on the ground and make them a legit barracks tower, so it's kind of like a hybrid-esque tower, and I felt like just including him because of that fact, okay? Because I like the idea of including a tower that is a hybrid in everything instead of excluding him and pushing him away into something else or something like that. So, let's dive in here. How do these guys attack? Again, the Dune Sentinels are going to do a bounce attack, so you're going to specifically see these guys once they finally start throwing. The Glaive would just bounce to a bunch of different units. The Royal Archers are just going to shoot a regular old arrow out. So you can see this almost perfectly here. It's going to add 1 bounce per tier, by the way, so you're going to get more bounces as you level up. That's why the damage here is really difficult to actually get accurate. Like, it's really, really, really difficult to math this out, but it can be done. The Rocket Gunners are going to then attack pretty slow. They have a pretty small-ish range for their actual thing here, even though you can move them around quite a bit. And they can die. That's definitely something you want to keep in mind when you're playing around with them, because if they die, they're not going to be doing any damage. And of course, spitters and other random units that can do damage from afar can definitely mess with your Rocket Gunners for sure. Royal Archer is going to be super duper consistent, which is kind of the main thing about them. They just shoot. They're rarely ever going to miss. They can miss a little bit here and there, but they're rarely ever going to miss. They just do consistent, normal, average damage. To be honest, boring, but you know what? Some people like boring, so that's fine. And then the Ballista Outpost. He's probably the one that's most likely to miss the most. So if you ever look at him changing from shooting 1 unit to the next, he can often shoot a bunch of ballistas actually into the ground, which you're definitely going to want to watch out for. And wasting damage is never fun for anybody. But they have to be fairly far away from each other for it to happen. You can see specifically right there, we didn't miss at all with any of our ballistas. But it can happen for sure. And he's going to be the fastest attacking tower in this entire situation here, even though he attacks in bursts of 5, which is kind of odd, I guess, in that it may be the least consistent tower, doing a big long pause in between his big 5 attacks, which is definitely fun. So now we understand how these towers work. Let's go over some numbers real quick. So I'm just going to group these guys all together. I'm going to show you all of the numbers. You can see them all in action right here. Now, when I make these efficiency numbers, I do as much math as I possibly can, but sometimes you just can't math things perfectly. You cannot be 100% perfect with all of this. You can only do your best with it. So, I just want to point out that the Dune Sentinels, that is an average attack damage that I think we would likely get based on the number of bounces that we normally would get, but it also includes the fact that we can miss sometimes or not get the max amount, for example, situations like this where there's not multiple guys for us to attack. The Royal Archers are just definitely consistent. They're a very, very easy number to math out. Ballista, same thing. Pretty easy number to math out here. But then the Rocket Riders, you have to keep in mind that they have the ability to die, so you can make this lower very, very easily. But if you just look at the numbers, specifically the 4th tier numbers, this is 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th tier numbers here. You look specifically at the 4th tier, the Rocket Gunner is going to have the highest overall damage output per dollar spent. And the Dune Sentinel is technically, with the average damage done, not the max possible damage, going to have the lowest possible damage output that it's going to do. And then Ballista is going to be a little bit above the Dune Sentinel by like a smidge with 3.82. And then right in the middle there, Royal Archer right about at 4. So what does this all mean? Realistically, it just means that they're all very similar to each other. Like, very, very similar to each other. These are numbers that are very small percentage points different from each other. This is not 50% more damage or something like that. As far as overall damage goes between all of these towers, I would almost call it nearly irrelevant. Okay? Not 100% irrelevant. Like, if you really are a number cruncher and you're like, yeah, that one, it's going to do more damage. Like, sure, go ahead. Be my guest. I'm not going to argue with you whatsoever. But it usually goes a little bit deeper than that. As far as range goes, I mean, this says it has extreme range. This says it has great range, which extreme should be higher than great, so like that could be something you can keep in mind here. This says it has long range, which is definitely shorter than the great range here. And of course, these guys, they don't truly have a range, but you can know that their regular attack is not going to go very far at all, so if you put that all together, it's actually, again, just very, very so unbelievably similar that it's very difficult to say for sure which one would actually put the most damage out into the world. Okay? So as far as regular attacks go, build whoever you want. It does not matter. Okay? But then we get to the abilities. Now the abilities, they are going to be fairly important here, which has the best abilities. And this is going to help us decide which is going to be the best Archer-type tower in the game. So, okay, this is going to be fun. So, what do we got here first? We've got the Armor Breaker and the Eagle. Now, the Armor Breaker does something fun. It shoots up to 3 arrows with each upgrade here that each do increasingly more damage, but also ignore armor. So if you specifically need to ignore armor on guys like this, boom, this thing's going to be really, really solid. Now, this overall efficiency here is, again, something we can compare very fairly because it's all just about damage per minute per cost. That's what it means, okay? So they're all going to be easily comparable here. The Eagle, though, you're going to see something really, really weird here. For every dollar we spend, we're getting very, very, very little overall damage. Just straight up. It is not only one of the worst abilities in the game, I think I probably would call it the worst ability in the game. If there's ever one thing you do not want to buy, is the Eagle. Do not buy the Rapacious Hunter. It is very inefficient, it misses a lot, it chases guys in weird ways and doesn't attack properly, it doesn't stall or stun anybody, it just doesn't really do anything. So, Eagle, just straight up no. So, Armor Piercer, very efficient. You probably want to buy the first tier or the second tier in most situations. Third tier is a little less efficient than the other ones, but very fair. I like 4.5s. It's better than the original tower here. So if I can, the main thing that I would do with a Royal Archer is I would buy up to a 4th tier and then buy the Armor Piercers kind of all the way up, or at least 1st or 2nd tier. That's kind of like my goal, just straight up. And then we move on to the other abilities here. We've got the Dune Sentinels here, which is a bounty hunt ability. Oh crap, I might lose, man. Oh gosh, oh gosh. Get some damage here, bro. Get some freaking damage here. So the bounty hunt is going to be able to get us money. So even though it doesn't do a lot of damage here, we're at 2.1, 2.2, and 2.2. Like, clearly, that is not the goal of this thing, but making extra gold is something that no other tower in the entire game can do. Making extra gold is absurd. So you don't really want to use this necessarily for the damage aspect, but you do want to use it for the making money aspect. If you want to make money, you want to use the bounty hunt, and there's no other good way to compare this thing at all. But I can easily see you making more money than this thing is worth and buying extra towers with it, easily making that efficiency 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It really depends on how many units you're going to end up killing with that bounty hunt to make sure it's going to be worthwhile here. Any which way, it's hard to numberify that thing, but just know that it is actually very, very good if you use it right, which is using it at the beginning of the game, probably using maybe just 1 or 2 of these guys and maxing them out, and then leaving the rest of the game to just regular damage somewhere else on the rest of the game here. And then the Whirling Doom. So the Whirling Doom is going to be $200, $400, and $600 here. It's going to do more about a second's worth of damage rather than increasing the damage here, which is kind of fun. And I can attack many different units here. Now, I said in this number situation that we're averaging 3 units we're hitting with it the entire time. Could it be more? Could it be less? Sure. It's definitely going to be dependent here. It could be 0, for all we know. But the average efficiency here is going to be 4.2 to 4.8. It usually is better to go for a higher level of the Whirling Doom if possible. You're going to get more overall damage out of it, but, you know, each their own. It's a very fair upgrade if you're trying to get grouped damage out of things. Let's just put it like that. And I like it. I think it's very good and fair, but it doesn't really work well with each other. The Bounty Hunt and the Whirling Doom don't work well because if you're trying to kill things with the Bounty Hunt, and then you kill things with the Whirling Doom, you're wasting gold, right? Which is never fun for anybody. So those are things to keep in mind for sure. And then we get the final nail and the Scrap Bomb. Ooh. Ooh, hot diggity dog. So as far as efficiency goes, final nail is going to be quite low. It's going to be 3, 2.8, and 2.8 again. So really nothing special there at all, but it does have a stun. And the stun is something you cannot overlook because the stun allows you, specifically because this is the fastest attacking ability in the game, by the way, with the most amount of stun that you're probably going to get out of almost any ability in the game, while also doing damage, which is kind of odd. It allows you to group people up really, really, really effectively. And even though the numbers don't say that, this is going to be one of the most popular and awesome upgrades you're going to enjoy in this game, but you got to use it in the right spot. You really don't want to use it in the middle of the map somewhere. You really don't want to use it in the very, very back of the map unless in weird situations where you need to stun a big guy back here, like a golem or a giant flying manta ray or something like that. Usually you want to use it against things like mid-range or stronger guys to group them up together and get a bunch of guys together so then you can throw your scrap bomb on all of them and kill them all with your scrap bomb. And that comes up to the scrap bomb, which ends up, if you average it to hitting 4 units per scrap bomb here, ends up being one of the most efficient and awesome abilities in the game. 7.7, 5.5, and 4.4. But interestingly enough, the first tier, the first level, ends up being the best ability in that aspect for sure. Like by a long shot. So if you're going to go for the Ballista Outpost, definitely just get one level scrap bomb. Kind of ignore the rest. Probably going to be better off for you, but to each their own. And then lastly, we've got the missile and the phosphoric coating on these guys right here, the rocket gunners. The Sting missiles are going to be able to insta-kill units, but they work in a weird way. It's not about how much health they have, it's about how much health they have as a max health, which is really, really, really goofy. And if you're playing on something like Impossible, this can actually make the Sting missiles possibly worse in this situation. But they specifically will not even try to attack an enemy if they have 901 health. Even if you hurt them down to 874 health. They will still not get insta-killed by the Sting missiles. So that's something you just have to really, 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 really watch out for, is the Sting missiles can easily end up screwing you over by not hitting the units properly that you think you're going to be able to hit with that. And then lastly, we have to show off the phosphoric coating. So, the phosphoric coating is going to do group damage. And if you look at the numbers here, this is averaging that we're hitting 1 additional unit with our phosphoric coating per upgrade. So it seems to go down over time with total damage that we can do, but interestingly enough, it also destroys more armor as we go up, which we can't really use as a number. So is the armor destruction actually important to you? Not unless you're doing a challenge. In most situations, just build a mage tower. You don't really care about the armor. And specifically, hitting a guy 33 times to get rid of 100% of your armor, you're going to kill him anyways. It just doesn't really matter that much. It's not an important aspect of this upgrade, in my opinion. Of course, it can be used, it can be helpful sometimes, but as far as spending $600 just to get rid of some armor, it's not going to be a big deal overall. That being said, it's not unusable, it's not awful or anything like that. So, phosphoric coating, you're mainly using it for its grouped attack damage, and believe it or not, if you're only attacking 1 additional unit here, it's up for grabs, man. It's alright, but probably not great. So anyways, the missile, the interesting thing about it is that its efficiency can go up, but that's the efficiency if we're killing that maxed health unit, 300, 600, or 900, and even at that rate, it's not stupendous. So Sting missiles have to be used very effectively if you want to use them properly, but honestly, I would almost stay away from the Sting missiles in most situations too. Chill with the 4th tier Rocket Rider, unless you specifically need that damage to kill exact health units. So, that being said, what is the best unit in the game? Well, I'm going to rank them from bottom to top. Okay, this is again just my opinion. Alright, I'm going to give you the reasoning why on this. I'm going to go with the Royal Archers as number 4, even though a lot of people like them because they're very, very consistent. I hate the aspect of the Eagle, and I find them a little bit on the boring side. Alright, those are the 2 main reasons. I don't like the Eagle, and I think they're kind of boring. And because of that, I don't really like using them all that much. I think they're fine to use, but like if we really have to compare them against each other, it comes down to the abilities. And the abilities say that the Royal Archers are one of the worst, mostly because the Eagle, and of course the Armor Piercer is kind of just fun, admittedly. But it's not enough of a redemption for me to really truly go at it. Then I'm going to go to the Rocket Gunners, and the reason why is because, again, they can die. And I think that's really, really troublesome. They can die, they have technically a small range here, they're a little more micro-intensive to use properly, they don't attack when you're moving them around like this, so you can, like, really lose out on more destructive damage. So, like, there's a lot of ways that these guys might not get their max damage out of them, and that just hurts my soul a little bit. So, we're going to put them at 3rd, then we jump to the last 2. So, did I just buy 2 of these guys again? Alright, we need to go for a Dune Sentinel. At 2, I'm going to put the Dune Sentinels, and the reason why is I love the idea of making extra cash. Alright, I love the idea of the bounty hunt here. It also does a pretty good amount of damage overall, and if you really are getting the max damage out of this tower, hitting units every single time with every single attack, it's probably the strongest. Like if you can actually max it out, you're using it in the front of the map against multiple different units all the time. Heck yeah, dude! You're going to get the max damage out of that puppy, you're going to make extra gold out of it, and you can use that extra gold to make other things happen that no other tower will possibly allow you to do. And that is more than anything. But again, because those abilities don't work out really, really well together, that hurts me just a little bit. Like, just a little bit here. It doesn't, like, destroy me or anything like that, but it hurts me just a little bit. So, lastly, it comes down to the Ballista Outpost. And I love, myself, the Ballista Outpost for a couple reasons. Specifically, I like the fairly consistent overall damage that it does. It feels like it does that nice burst damage, so I can see exactly what it's doing when it's hurting a unit. I don't like the misses, obviously, but I think it makes up for it with the abilities. I think the final nail and grouping guys up is just absurdly, absurdly amazing. You cannot possibly say that that's not a good upgrade, and it's the fast attacking ability in the game, okay? Really easy to overlook that aspect. On top of that, the Scrap Bomb is just unbelievable damage for what you're getting out of it. One of the higher efficiencies for sure we've seen in the day, and that didn't even include the fact that it also slows enemies for 6 seconds. That was just the damage output. But we get good damage, and we get good slowdown, allowing our other towers to do more damage. So when you group it all together, it just makes this guy fantastic. Now, admittedly, you can easily use him wrong, which would make him much, much, much less good. If you use him in the middle of the map or near the back of the map, he could be much, much less good than a lot of the other towers in the situation. So usually if I'm using a Ballista, I want to put him near the front, make sure I get one final nail, one Scrap Bomb, and that is the ideal Ballista Outpost to use. So again, I would not necessarily say that any of these towers are bad compared to each other, but they definitely have different use cases for sure. Definitely the most consistent, definitely the most micro-intensive, but possibly the most fun and interesting to use for sure. Definitely, in my opinion, just overall the best. And I don't want to say micro-intensive, but like you really have to pay attention to him and how he's working and everything, and make sure you're stalling guys in the right way to get that Scrap Bomb damage and everything out of him. And then, Dune Sentinels, definitely the most wild abilities where you have the most possible opportunities for cool things to happen in the late game. So, Dune Sentinels with the Bounty Hunt is just freaking insane, but also micro-intensive and paying attention intensive, which is going to definitely knock it down at least a couple notches here for me. So anyways, that's it. If you guys enjoyed, obviously press the like button, subscribe, and have a super duper delicious day.